Cool.
Cool.
All right. Let's do it.
All right, we're rocking and rolling here with Frankie Flowers in the house. What's up, man?
All right, man. Happy to be on.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man.
In Cayman at the moment. So you're here for Christmas, or you got other business?
Oh, both. A little bit of both, but yes, more for the holidays. See the family.
Yeah. So is the business have to do with the Bluff?
Yeah. A little
Nice,
bit,
nice.
A little Bluff business.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's watch the trailer right now.
Okay.
And then we can chat about it. How about that?
All right, let's do that.
All right,
Here
cool.
we go. Little trailer reaction, as the kids say.
The bounty I seek is worth more than any gold.
Come here. Wake up. Come on. Get up. Mama's okay. Mama's okay.
No one leaves the soil until I collect my property. Why did you betray me? You think I would just let you slip away?
Mama!
We have subdued the woman. Have you now?
You come to my house, threaten my family.
Bloody Mary! I'm told you have a beautiful new family. They know who you really are.
I'm still your mother, and I will do anything in my power to protect you. Look away.
How are you so good at killing people?
Your father didn't marry me for my cooking.
It's you those men are looking for.
Let them look.
Dead or alive, gentlemen.
They're gonna find us, and they're gonna kill us.
Did you miss me, darling?
This only ends. The sand soaked in his blood or mine.
Nice.
Mine. Good.
February 25th. Is that date for real?
Yeah.
That date is for real. So
That's
on
the date.
Amazon Prime, we can log on there February 25th and watch The Bluff.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm
Nice.
hoping. I'm betting on it. Yeah, do a little watch party. Trying to think, keep it live.
Nice.
Just take it off the desktop so that we don't think.
So we could go through that. I mean, I first of all, how come Ronnie in the trailer?
Ronnie is all over the movie though. You're gonna see Ronnie. Ronnie's great.
I heard.
Ronnie's great. Yes, I don't know why he's not in the trailer. That's a good point.
Oh no,
we're
no,
saving
no.
him. We gotta
We're
save something.
We gotta
save the
some-
best parts.
There
You can't
go.
just give all the good secrets
There you
away.
go. There you go. So let's start from the beginning, bro. What tell me about the writing process and how long did it take you to write that script?
Well, I had a writing partner, Joe Ballerini. He and I.
And you had worked with him before?
Yeah, we knew each other since film school, so I know
Okay.
him very, very long time.
Okay.
It actually started. We have something called the Bad Idea of the Week Club, and so we would call each other, and I'd be like, Joe, how about this terrible idea?
Okay.
And it's really not bad ideas. It's
Right,
actually
right.
stuff that
But it's a way for you to just get ideas out there.
exactly
Yeah.
not feel the pressure.
Right.
And that's something that you get in film school, but in the real world, it's hard to get that, right? Because the
Right.
pressure of it's a good idea. Anyway, so he called me, said, "Oh, what if we did Straw Dogs with pirates?" And Straw Dogs is one of my favorite movies, and it's a little controversial, but it's an interesting dynamic because it's about a guy, Dustin Hoffman, in the English countryside. It's about masculinity, and these men essentially come and take siege to his house. and he is like a pacifist and doesn't want to fight back.
Right.
And by the end of the movie, he's just ripping their heads off with bear traps. And,
Right.
it was a great film.
Huh.
And so the inspiration was, we could do that. And Joe knows I always wanted to make something in the pirate genre. Pirates Week, as you can tell from my shirt right here, my Pirates Week shirt. Pirates Week is a big part of my life, and something me and my dad and sister and mom used to do. We weren't as into Halloween. Pirates Week was the thing, right?
Right.
You remember it was live. It was just the streets came alive. Thousands of people. And
it's better than Halloween, man.
Oh, it's much better than Halloween, because Halloween came out, it's kind of like, you don't really, you might do a little bit in a truck back and go to a couple people's houses, but it's not as a big, especially when we were growing up. There's also people like from church who didn't even believe in Halloween, right? So there was a lot of people who didn't do Halloween.
Right.
And so I feel like Pirates Week was our Halloween in a way.
Right.
And so we started stewing on it, and it turned out not to be a bad idea.
Yeah.
And we developed it from there, and it started as a very small movie, something that essentially could take place in one location, something like The Witch. You've ever seen that movie where it's, it's like a $5 million movie with the little goat and everything. So we said, we could do something kind of small. And we reached out to Zoe Saldana and her sisters, who are producers on the film, and we started developing it and really locking into this idea of a working mom and, the Caymanian cultural paradigm of like men going off to sea and women holding down the homestead, right? Homestead. They built a lot of this country, right? They would hold it down while the men were away. And so we started this idea of a woman whose husband's at sea and she's at home trying to take care of her kids. And, she's marginalized in the society. And then these pirates come and the secrets start to unpull from that. And so Zoe introduced us to the Russo brothers, who are producers on the film with their company AGBO. I should say the Russo siblings, because there's three of them. There's a sister who's brilliant and amazing, and again, what a lovely family they are. And they produced Extraction and Avengers, and actually one of my favorite movies, a movie called Mosul. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix, and it's about the SWAT team in Nineveh. Nineveh, like where Jonah,
like biblical stories.
Bro, no, it's about them fighting Taliban.
Okay,
so it's a contemporary story, but it takes place in Nineveh.
Okay.
So it's gonna be lit. You're like, if we got MP5s in Nineveh, it's gonna be lit. It was my favorite, and it's actually it's in a different language. I don't know. I think it's Farsi. I'm not sure of the language.
Interesting.
But I remember watching it and going, man, the Russo brothers of like Captain America and that, they're doing this gritty little foreign language film, and I was really impressed by that. That they had this desire to tell global stories, but it had this sheen on it where you're like, this feels like a big action movie, even though it's subtitles and very specific. There's no movie stars in it and stuff like that.
So you thought you had a chance when you saw that, right? You're like,
yeah, man. And I love that they can do both, right? And they see the value in those stories.
Right.
And so we partnered up with them, and the movie kind of, there was several years of writing because there were two strikes. We had an actor strike. We had there's another strike. There was an actor strike and then a Teamster IATSE strike.
Right.
So we had this momentum to get the movie made, and then it shut down for almost 2 years.
So you partnered with them before you finished writing?
Yes.
Interesting.
So I pitched them. We pitched them the idea.
Right.
They helped us develop the idea a little bit more.
Right.
They blew it up. So then it wasn't just a woman in our house and thing. It became a real, big, thoughtful, kinetic, gritty, visceral action movie. And what they're great at is given that theatrical sort of sheen, that scale, that scope. They know how to make action.
I mean, you can see it in the trailer. It looks wicked.
Right? Like it feels like a big movie. So they're like, we're making a big movie. And so, but what I really loved about them is they saw the value in the culture. And I never felt at any point, I've had moments in my career where I'll pitch a story and you'd be like, that's a good story. If only you could set it in Florida. If only you could set it through this lens. If only you could tell the story of like the 45-year-old white American, not the 25-year-old, whatever, right? Caribbean kid or whatever. So they saw the value in it. So I always felt protected, and I always felt like, we're gonna get to make an amazing, big action movie, but also be able to be true to the culture. Right. And that was, again, it's just a dream come true.
That is a dream come true. I mean, I saw it there. You could see the thatch rope. You could see the conch shells. The other cultural elements there. So that's pretty exciting. So when they come on board before you finish writing the script, is it the idea that we're going to back this no matter what, or is it dependent on the script?
Well, no, they come on as producers and they're working with the Saldanas and myself and Joe to flesh out the pitch to say, okay, here's how we tell the best version of the story. And then we pitch it to different studios. And then that studio if they love it, they would bring us on to write and execute the idea that we pitched them. So that's kind of how it works.
And the studio is different than the Russo brothers.
Correct.
Okay.
They act like a studio, but they're a production company.
Okay.
So they come on as producers, and then they make the inroads to us with the different studios and streamers, et cetera. And then we see who bites on the movie and who, has a similar vision to us, and we develop it with the studio.
Okay, so it's while you're writing, you're developing with the Russo brothers and the studio.
Right.
And the studio's AGBO.
Well, AGBO is their studio, but then you had Netflix at the time.
Okay.
And then Amazon.
That's right. I remember Netflix, I thought.
It was at Netflix
Right.
at one point, right.
Okay. So what happened there? How does that change happen? That's pretty interesting.
It was interesting. We were at Netflix, and they had some internal shakeups in the overall company, nothing to do with us. And we were like in this budget range of a division between like, I want to say they had like a under 20 and then a 20 to 80 and then 100 and above. So they have these like very specific tiers, and the middle tier kind of sort of, I don't say collapsed, but they did some restructuring, and we were in that zone. So one day all of our executives, they had sort of been redistributed around the company. And so again, I gotta hand it to them, because a lot of people, that would have been the end of the story, it gets trapped up. But Netflix was really cool in allowing us to take the movie elsewhere. And the Russos really fought to say, hey, they have a great relationship with Netflix, they have a great relationship with Amazon. They made a lot of movies for both. And so Netflix was like, great, go with God, you guys go figure it out, make your movie.
Interesting.
And so it was very cool, man. I gotta say, this very restored my faith in Hollywood in a lot of ways. And they're also the nicest people. So I actually think that like good things come to them, because they're just really, really nice, thoughtful people. And they run their company in a very nice and thoughtful way. So it's a change from the old school way of like Hollywood producers or big directors are supposed to be these like jerks and these kind of things. They're very thoughtful and very nice and very smart and very generous. And so, it wasn't easy to get the movie made, but I oddly never felt at any point like we weren't getting it made. They would even, the sister Angela would call and be like, hey, so Frank, she calls me Frank. Frank, so I just want to let you know that, the movie shut down, and but we got a plan to get it back up and going. And
this was during the strike?
During the strikes or during like the reshuffles. There was just all these, again, by the way, when I was in film school, we'll jump around a little bit. When I was in film school, one of my mentors was John Singleton, who directed Boys in the Hood. And I remember he said to me, every movie I've been on is shut down 3 times.
Interesting.
So he said, when it happens, just be like, cool.
Yeah.
That's 1 down.
Right.
And so, that's what happened with this movie. So when it shut down, I actually like kept going back to like, what John said, rest his soul. Big up John Singleton. He, I was like, oh, okay, that's 1.
Right.
And the way they were so calm made me go like, oh, okay, they've seen this too.
Right.
They know it's not the end of it. And they're
Right.
like, we're going to get this done. And again, kudos to them, because they stuck with it. And a lot of times studios don't. Like, people will just, things fall apart and fall apart forever.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We've all heard those horror stories, and definitely been a part of, doing a film that just you get so far and then it just sort of collapses on itself and it never gets done, right?
Yes.
I can't imagine the feeling at that level when you're making a blockbuster like that and then it gets shut down. Like that's a crazy thing. That's a crazy experience, right? But we all know that happens. So Zoe, was she not a part of the film acting wise? Or?
No, she's a producer in the film. Her and her
Okay.
sisters, they have a company called Sinistar. And so
Okay.
they developed the script and the idea and then to get it set up. And then they introduced us to the Russos. We continued to develop it. And then they introduced me to Priyanka, who starred as the lead in the movie. And then she's great too. She's a producer in the movie too. And she brought, this incredible insight and depth to the character, to the world. It was very, we went on a real deep dive in from the cultural point of view. Again, we never lost sight that we're trying to make an action movie that entertains people.
Right.
But we definitely went deep in terms of what we were trying to, our research here, but also the general snapshot of what the Caribbean was like in the 1840s, the types of people that would have been here, where they would have come from. So all that was really important to get right.
Right.
And for me, even, I remember Miss King. You have Miss King and John Gray?
Yeah, what was the first name?
Miss King.
What she taught again?
She taught history, Caribbean history.
Yes, I remember. I don't think she taught me, but I remember her.
Yeah. So we had.
You spoke with her about it?
No, but she really.
She had her influence.
She had an influence on me. Her and Nasaria Sakul, probably the 2 teachers that influenced me the most. But Miss King, had this incredible love for Caribbean culture, and we took Caribbean culture, and we were just only 4 of us in the class. It was me, Fritzy, I can't remember the 2. And so it was just us in the class. So we had this almost like Safi was in the class, Julian, Safi, me, and Fritz. It was like 4 of us. And it was like, it just happened to be how it got rostered. There was 4 of us, so it was almost like having a private session.
Yeah.
But I remember we would like go really deep,
Yeah.
and she was from Barbados, and she had this very, Frankie, this and that. And she even Pirates Week, she would look at, because I grew up loving Pirates Week, and she kind of woke us on Pirates Week, Frankie, these pirates, there was murderers. and it was like, and that always kind of stuck with me too, of like, okay.
Right.
They're not, you see other films where they're these kind of hokey, comedic, jolly. And again, I like those films as much as the next man.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were reconceiving this idea, one of the things that when I first met with the Russos, I said, my vision for it as a director is I want to reimagine pirates as this like international, elite special forces, right? You imagine it's 1840s, you're at the end, it's not the golden age anymore.
Right.
These guys are being hunted down by every navy on earth.
Right.
There's no more letters or marquee.
Right.
And so only the strongest, meanest,
will survive at that point,
Right.
right? Because even their own countries are after them at that point, right? Their own crowns are.
They have no country at
Right,
this point,
right, right.
And a pirate ship is what? Is a collection of the best killers
Right.
from all over the world,
Right,
right? So
right.
we were like, let's imagine these guys as like a strike force.
Right.
And so the movie doesn't really take place on the high seas. There's a few boat things you saw in the trailer,
Right,
but it's
right.
really an invasion movie,
Huh.
right? And we were inspired by the Battle of Bloody Bay, in Cayman Brac,
Yeah.
for which that was named.
And what's that?
Well, that was this moment where, and again, I encourage people to go into the archives and do their own research. Just some amazing, amazing stuff.
And
there.
is this 1840s time?
It is a little before that, but essentially the whole colony was wiped out because they essentially, and oddly I think it was actually British hunters that came and they essentially set fire to they would find Caymanian boats and they would just set them on fire.
Oh, yeah?
Right? And these weren't even the pirates, these were the people chasing the pirates.
Right.
And so they talk about Bloody Bay and they believed that everyone there were pirates. So it was, I want to say the British who invaded and killed everyone in the town. There was blood in between Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. So there was so much blood in the water that they named it Bloody Bay. That's the story I heard. And so we repurposed it. We didn't quite go as historically accurate in that part, but we're like this idea of an invading
Right.
force. And 1840s, what's also, if you want to geek out for a second,
Yeah, let's do it.
we're on the cusp of a change in technology with firearms. So you're going from black powder stuffing to striker mechanisms, right? To like early revolvers. And so what we found was there was all these crazy prototype weapons that people were trying to develop.
Interesting.
And one of them was a 20-shot revolver, which was bananas, 20 shots,
Wow.
right? So you imagine, so we gave Carl Urban that gun, and you imagine you're invading a country and all the fishermen are there, they got one shot, and they gotta like stuff and do the wad and the thing, and then pow.
Right.
And by the way, not even pow, it's click, boom, right? And this dude can pop, pop, pop,
Right,
pop, pop,
right,
pop.
right.
So when we were actually staging the action, we said, man, how can we incorporate that? To make it realistic and grounded and credible, but also that's a great cross section and a metaphor for colonization. All the things you would think
like
about is like
different times converging, hitting each other at the same time. Right?
Yeah, man.
So in the movie, then, are some of the Brackers, they're holding those older time pistols?
that's all they have. They all
Right.
have muskets
Right.
and
so this invading pirate force is more like automatic type.
well, they have a
guns.
revolver style and
Yeah.
they have a sniper played by Ronnie.
No way, he was the sniper.
He was the sniper.
Wow, I didn't know that.
He was great. No, by the way, he came over to at first kind of hang out and help train some of the extras.
Yeah, this is how Ronnie gets on the films. It's
great.
like, so we got to study this.
Oh, Ronnie.
All right,
No, Ronnie's great, man, because listen, the great thing about
comes
Ronnie is, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that he comes on to help,
Yeah.
and he's great help, right? He's just stunt wise, or especially with the fight scenes and stuff. But once you see him, it's like, all right, no, we actually got to get him.
No, you want him in it.
You
No,
want
it's
him in the
great.
film.
No, listen, and I gotta give Ronnie. I mean, the nice thing about Ronnie, he's just such a giving soul. He's a person who, wherever he goes, he tries to be a giver, not a taker.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's fun to be able to say, yo, man, why don't you come jump in front of the camera and play with us? And he just did. I saw the work he did with some of the extras. We had guys who had never held a gun before, and in 2 hours, he had them looking like a SWAT team.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
And Ronnie, I remember Ari saying that The thing about Ronnie is he's such a positive person.
He is.
He's got positive things to say all the time. I mean, I'm like, I never quite thought about that, but that's definitely Ronnie's MO. He's just positive,
Yes.
positive quotes all day long.
That's
right?
true.
No negativity. So that's cool. That's cool. So he was the sniper, huh? I thought he would be like the up close, I'm going to slice your neck kind of guy, right?
No.
Interesting.
Sniper.
Okay. Huh. So 1840s, Cayman Brac. So there were people in Cayman Brac in the 1840s, I guess, then?
Yes, give or take.
Yeah.
It's interesting going through the archives.
Yeah.
What's interesting is like there's a period in Cayman history where like before a certain time there's like 5 documents.
Right.
Right. And you can read all 5.
And that's it.
One is like a letter that like, this priest wrote back to the clergy,
Right.
And we really geeked out on that because what was fun is like there was enough evidence to be able to create stuff. And then you go, but then there's so much that need to be filled in.
Right.
So we were borrowing. Sometimes, our rule was like, I always say, try not to lie about more than one thing at once. So we would say, all right, if it's between 1840 and 1860, it's kind of fair game, right? So we tried to keep things, accurate, but also borrowing from the best of. We had a person called Custode Drayton in the film, and he's based on the first custode of Cayman Brac, right?
Okay.
So that was an example where we were able to get that. If you look at, there's been debates on like if Founded Upon the Seas, he had Founded Upon the Seas book versus some of the other stuff. You can really get into like perspective and what historical document justifies what. Some people said there was a settlement, then it got wiped out, and then it rebuilt. And the word that comes to mind is permanent settlement. So there were temporary settlements that we find evidence of, but we don't know how long and for when they were there or how they got wiped out. And then I think the permanent settlements is the ones that we can trace from, the record books, the log books, all the way to contemporary times, right?
Right. But then there's a sort of prehistory there that's sort of hazy and misty, but, some things happen, but it's a little less, permanent, I guess.
Right. And people say, pirates settled here, these people settled here.
Right.
Deserters from Cromwell's army, and all this sort of the stories we've heard growing up.
Right.
There's these gaps, and that's the fun.
And I remember, so Priyanka was here before you guys filmed, right?
Yes.
And I guess she did some research and about the stuff that we're talking about, I guess, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What was that like? How long was she here for? And
we were the Ministry of Culture set up this wonderful itinerary. Thank you, Minister Rankin. It was him and I used to work at the Harkwell together, so it's always fun to see him working with culture. And he set up this great itinerary where we all went to East End and met his father, and she learned how to thatch planting and rope making and quadrille, and then we went to see some of the houses that inspired her house in the film. And so it was fun for her to be able to go deep and meet people and just soak up a little bit of the culture. I brought one of the producers from AGBO as well, Michael Disco, and as you know, Ari, you're talking about one of the producers, he's been here as well. So again, it was just that idea of like that extra level of authenticity, that extra level of culture that we were bringing, and that infuses in every aspect of the movie. So even in the action design, like you mentioned, the the conch shell boxing glove moment.
where I got them conch shells from?
We flew it all in. We had,
Yeah.
and some we made because you can't,
Hit someone with a real conch.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Thanks, man. I've seen it. I can't say who, but I definitely saw it.
Saw it before
there's someone
somewhere.
here who does it. Yeah. And the Mayans used to do it too. I actually, we were our Aztecs. We learned that they used to do these boxing where they would tie it up. And
Is
they would
that
pop up.
right?
Yeah. So we did that, and then we had Henry Matu, who was one of my mentors from Cayman National Culture Foundation. A person who kind of taught me to direct back in the day. And he was a cultural consultant. So he furnished us with all the wattle of daub, all the things that we needed. I brought, I was just higgling books back from the museum. I would go in there and just buy every book they had.
Right.
And brought it back for our production designer. And then we built, 1840s Cayman Brac. We built a house, we built the village, we built the church, we built the dock, the boats. And for Priyanka's house, what was really special is my dad came up and he said he almost got choked up because we did it on this 100 acres of sugarcane. So if you look around 360, there's no telephone poles, there's no buildings, there's no airplanes. You could be in the 1840s. So in the middle of this plot, we built this
The set.
Caymanian house, right? And we built it so you could do inside and outside. So it was a working set.
Cool.
and it was great. So the actors got transported there.
And so this is Australia, right? So tell me a little bit about how did we decide Australia?
So we looked at a bunch of places. You know, we obviously at first we wanted to try and shoot the movie here, and then when it got to a certain size, logistically it was just impossible. You know, our crew was 400 people at one point, right? So the amount of people you have to bring in, the cost and all that, and also, you know, as much as I was like, oh man, I'd love to do it in Cayman, the Cayman that we're portraying doesn't exist anymore. So you essentially have to build, right? And so you have to go, where can I build
You
this?
need a big open field, big open sugarcane field,
You need
right?
a big open field. You need a beach.
Yeah.
You need a big open beach that you can build an entire town.
Right.
That just doesn't exist anymore, right?
Right.
We don't even have enough, you know, open beach. So it was like that thing of, you know, so we did a combination where we shot some elements here in Cayman, which I know you were on that shoot, and Cayman Brac, because we wanted to make sure we had the authentic bits. And then we did, you know, a lot of the work, the bigger stuff and stunt work in Australia where they have sound stages and stunt crews and all the kind of things.
So why not North America then? I would think that there's somewhere in North America there's the ability to shoot that. Or
I mean, not a lot. I mean, you'd be surprised, you know.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When I saw the pictures of, so we looked at, where did we look at? We looked at, I want to say like Indonesia, or we looked at like Malta, we looked at a bunch of places, DR.
Right,
you know, when I
right.
saw the Gold Coast of Australia,
Yeah.
there were images where I go, oh my gosh, that's Cayman, right? And then you have Phil Ivey, who is our production designer, who's one of the best in the business, and he's worked with the Russos, but he's also worked, you know, on Lord of the Rings and District 9, and he's a world builder.
Yeah.
And you have him come on, and he's gonna bring in he's gonna make sure there's not a bad tree. Right? Like I would look through and I'd be like, man, my people gonna kill me if they see what kind of tree that is. No, Cayman tree. This man made sure that every frame was button on. He brought in, by the way, I had smuggled in this little thing of sand that they could, you know, because they're very strict on soil. So this little glass thing of sand. I said, man, we gotta match this sand.
Yeah.
And they're like, look at me like I'm crazy. I said, man, no.
They don't play around in Australia, no?
They
You
do
gotta
not.
watch out how you...
No, you can't. So, but they're incredible to filmmakers. They're incredible crew, and really it was a wonderful place to shoot. And so we brought this sand in. They searched the whole country to find the sand that
similar
would match.
sand.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And we brought in 30 tons of it.
Wow.
And coconut trees and all the, you know.
So you dumped 30 tons of sand in the area and planted coconut trees and built a house, several structures. What else did you guys do? That's crazy.
We built caves, you know.
Wow, that's right. I saw those.
Crystal Cave, we got inspired by that. And so,
what do you mean you built those then? So what is that? That wasn't your job, right?
No, but I was there every day. I'll hopefully by the time this comes, I can send you some footage.
Yeah. I mean,
But,
that's,
you know.
that's pretty crazy. So you built the caves out there in Australia too?
Yeah.
I
so
thought that was a soundstage that was in Australia.
It is a soundstage in Australia.
Okay,
Let me
okay.
see if I got something here I could just show you. Once
Yeah,
you
man. And I want to go through the trailer again and pick out some
So
spots.
this is the cave. So yeah, it was essentially it was like a big 40,000 square foot warehouse at the Warner Brothers facility, and
that's in Australia?
That's in Australia.
Okay.
Gold Coast. That's me running around. Like
And
a
those
maniac.
lights, that's daylight or that's lights in the
That's
studio?
lights in the studio up there. See them there?
yeah.
So it was like 3 stories. So we had, you know, the main cavern, which had the water, which was inspired by the crystal caves here, and we had the stalagmites.
You know how I remember?
How?
The ones that hang from the ceiling need to be tight. So there's the stalactite,
Okay.
right? Otherwise they're going to drop. And the ones from the ground are the stalagmites.
All right. Well, we had them all. Stalactite, stalagmite.
I love
all
the
like-
mustache, by the way.
Thank
I don't
you.
know. I don't know why you
was
shaved that
grown.
off, but that's nice.
It was a vibe, you know. It was a vibe. So we built this, and then we also had to design action around it. So we had to make sure walls could be removed and be made safe for guys slamming into.
So
them
was
and all
this
that.
near the set on the beach and
No.
the house, or that's in a different
No, the
city?
beach. The beach set was Stradbroke Island, so it was a completely different island off of the main thing. So we had to
I
get on a
see.
ferry and go across
From Australia onto another.
onto another island, which was such a trip. And this was like a beach. If you look at it, it looked like almost like, I mean, it's bigger, but it's more like looked like Cayman Beach, where it's just like cabanas and people chilling and having food and stuff. And then you essentially got to take that, and we built an entire village, and then we shot there, and then we had to take it all down, and we couldn't even leave. It's a protected area, so you couldn't even leave one piece of trash there, right? So we had to take this whole thing apart after 2 weeks. And so I remember, like, they would call. It was like last call. They're like, "Man, this thing about to go down tomorrow. So do you need anything else?" So I'd be like, send in second unit. I'd be like, "Yo, grab this, grab that, grab this." Because when that's gone, that's gone. The house we had run a show, and that was actually, I think, is still there. The owner of the land loved it so much. He's like, "Just keep it here."
Right.
But that whole beach set was going. So we were like, anything you got to get it now.
Right. Huh. That's always very interesting when you wrap a shoot you wrap the shoot. And I just had these experiences where I'm like heading back to like the studio or the office or whatever. And it's like, wow, that set is gone now. And you cannot, like, even if you were to go back there tomorrow, the set's gone, the actors aren't there, the wardrobe's not there.
Yep.
Like that moment in time is gone. And you either got what you wanted or you didn't, So that's a very interesting feeling, I guess.
Yeah, man.
So I wanted to ask you, you have Haven. Haven came out 2004, Hurricane Ivan.
2006, yeah.
2006?
Yeah.
Not during Ivan? Okay, well, it screened at the festival.
At festival during Ivan, and then 2006 the movie came out.
Right, okay, I see. Wow, so 2005 went by before the movie came out. Interesting. I don't remember this. I did see the film at the time at the old cinema, but I remember the idea or like maybe some rumors that people were like, oh my God, like, what is this? It was a little bit too explicit for some. And I remember, hearing stories about, some maybe older Caymanians like walking out or what have you. Do you fear that for this film?
No, I mean, the thing about Haven is, and I stand by that film because, I think history exonerate it in a way because there were things that I think people were not wanting to talk about or portray, and I understand that. I respect that too. But I don't think anyone would look at that now and be like, "Oh, this is absurd. Where did this thing come from? This never happened." It was happening. I think people weren't ready to deal with it. Especially in dealing with like youth crime and gang violence. Those kind of things. For this movie, it is. It's visceral and it's violent. It's fun. It's a kinetic. It's transportative. So I think. The emotional, oh no, are we showing something? But I don't think you have that. I also think, listen, it's a fun movie. It's I love it. I think people are gonna love it. It's the pirate movie I've always wanted to see. And I think people who grew up watching like other pirate movies, they come to that age where like, yo, I'd love to see the like, what was the real kind of like, gritty fun. Right. So that was a big part of this. So I think actually people are gonna enjoy it in a different way. And I'm excited for that. I'm excited for audiences to touch that.
Me too, actually. I thought the same thing. I thought, back in 2004, I think that's just a different time. And I think that there won't be that sort of reaction to this film this time around. I think people are going to love it. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I do think people are going to love it and really appreciate it maybe in a way that they didn't Haven, Yeah,
so. And also I think, I was talking to Minister earlier and saying, I strongly believe that our culture, in order to sustain and grow, we need to meet people where they're at. So I look at like this younger generation and I love going out by the archive. And like I said, I love reading those 5 letters and then going on a rabbit or a treasure hunt through time. Most people don't, right? No 12 or 13-year-old is going to just go hang out in the archive for it, right? How are they going to engage with culture? Through social media, through Instagram posts, through some AI representation, whatever, right? They're going to find their own way to get there, right? In the same way Pirates Week for us, it came alive. We were like, oh, I mean, this is this parade in town. We didn't know we were getting saturated with culture, right? So I also think that what I'm proud of the Bluff is that, when people see Wattle and Daub and all the traditional things and catboats and all these things that we know are sacred from a certain time in a new format, in like a global action movie that, stands up against any other action movie that's exciting, that they see themselves reflected in that. There's going to be a value for that. And then on the flip side of that, I also believe that Caymanian culture is not exclusively catboats and turtle nets and thatch, right? That is a part that you and I might love, but hey, going to John Gray High School in the 90s is culture, right?
Right,
Hurricane
right.
Ivan is culture.
Right.
You know, these, you know, I look at some of the musicians, you know, Cottrell, those guys, I mean, they're culture, right? So I think this idea of, you know, we can only define ourselves one way is, you know, this generation and social media and the diaspora, you know, more people are having to leave Cayman to work and find, you know, especially jobs in entertainment, et cetera. I think it's an exciting time to be able to show our culture and stretch the boundaries of what we consider culture and what's sacred and celebrate it and include it. You know, by the way, the thing with the Bluff that was so crazy is when we were going through the census and stuff, and it's like, oh, Cayman was a diverse society from day one, right? You had settlers from Cromwell's army, you had this guy, you had that, right?
From day one.
From day one.
Interesting.
Right? So even when we were casting, we're like, oh, we can cast people from all over.
Right.
Because people from all over were coming here. And so again, those experiences are part of our culture, you know?
I think this film will be, you know, part of our culture, just based on what you're saying in terms of like how people consume media and stuff like that. So is Cayman actually mentioned in the film?
Oh yeah,
Nice.
it's a big, we pushed for that. They say Cayman Brac, and they say it several times. And there's a Chiron, and it's there. By the way, and there's footage from the Bluff. There's footage. You were there. We shot Barcus. We shot the Bluff. You know, there's.
So how did all that footage come out?
It's great.
That was all sort of like what do we call it again? What's the phrase when you're shooting for the stuff that goes on the green screen?
Well, some of it was actual establishing
Right,
shots.
I saw the Bluff.
Right. So we did a mixture. We did VFX plates. We did scans where they did a LiDAR scan of the whole Bluff in there so that we could digitally recreate it. And then we also did actual shots that are in the movie. So we had, you know, as you know, we had a crew, drones and all that stuff. So they're shots that right out the camera were in the film.
They're in the film.
That was great. And then, you know, the set we built of the Bluff matches exactly the point. So we did a LiDAR scan of the bluff of that, and we chose, okay, this is where the pirate's going to be, this is where the final fight's going to be, and we created that in, you know, this huge set of the Bluff, and you could match it.
Nice.
You know, inch
kind
for
of
inch.
frame for frame, inch for
sure.
inch. Wow, that's sexy.
Yeah, man.
Because, you know, when we were there at the time, you know, we were on the production team, so wasn't really sure what you guys were shooting, but it was always this idea, like, how are they gonna know what shot goes into what shot? Right. You know, like what background, what plate, you know, is it gonna fit or is it gonna be off a bit? Is the horizon tilted a bit or, you know, what have you? But it sounds like it was all a pretty good match.
Oh, it was great. And we had a wonderful VFX team, you know, James McQuaide, we call him Magic McQuaide. He was down here.
Yeah.
You know, he got cut up. Remember, he fell on the Bluff. I mean, this guy put in blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. Fell on the Iron Shore. Classic.
Classic, man.
Day one.
That's right.
First
I think we have a photo of it somewhere, him in the Cayman Brac Hospital with all the blood.
Yeah.
But he kept going, and we, you know, he was so meticulous. He's a filmmaker himself as well. And so he really made sure that we had all the pieces we need. And I was really spoiled for choice. I mean, I went back to LA and we were looking in the edit, and I was like, oh man, we have more stuff than we need, and it was really great. And you go look at it, and you go, oh, that's Cayman, and parts of it is Cayman. So you're, you know, yeah.
McQuaide was great to work with. Seemed very chill and calm and smart. You know, putting it all together. And Ari as well. How's he doing, by the way?
He's good, man. I think he's working on the Extraction TV show right now, and then he'll be back in LA. And yeah, we'll be seeing all the gang, you know, very soon for the premiere and the press tour. So it's very exciting. And
what's that like then, the press tour? Do you bounce around from city to city? Do people come to you?
Mostly they come to you. We go to.
Do they talk to you? Do they talk to Priyanka, Carl Urban?
I mean, they talk to me. I don't think they really want to talk to me. They talk to me a little bit, but they really talk to Priyanka and Carl. But they do. You know, I do some stuff too, and I also think because it's a Caymanian story that I'm able to give lend some perspective to things. But it's really about the actors, and you know, they work so hard in this movie. They put in incredible performances. They dug deep. They really brought it, you know, on every level. So I'm excited for them to be able to take a victory lap and to celebrate the movie, celebrate the great work they've done. And that's gonna be a lot of fun as well, you know, and for the fans to see, the fans of these, you know, of all the actors. There's a bunch of great actors in the movie, but you know, Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Carl Urban are sort of the two that lead the charge. And then we have Tamora Morrison, you know, who people know from from Boba Fett. And he, what a great addition that was. He did this movie called Once Were Warriors.
And what was he in the film?
He played the quartermaster, so he's like Carl's second.
What's a quartermaster again?
He essentially runs the crew. He's
like the AD of the set
of the pirate ship.
Yeah.
He's responsible for safety and also, giving the orders and that stuff.
Cool.
And discipline.
Cool. Huh. So, is there anything that you wanted to tell Cayman in advance of the film? Or is it kind of like, yeah, there's the film? Or is there something you're like, I wish I could just let them know this little thing, or not really?
No, I mean, listen, God is good. I am so blessed to have done this. And I am just, living every day with gratitude.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if I would tell Cayman anything, it's thank you. Thank you for the stories. Thank you to everyone who participated in Pirates Week when we were kids and did floats and Henry Matu and Isaac Rankin, all these people who were like at the CNCF, the people who like kept the culture alive and kept it tactile. Because that's the big thing, right? Like when you can reach out, when you can touch it, again, to be inspired by, again, they might be using a thatch rope to choke out a pirate or smash his head with a conch shell. But again, getting to interpret those things, like those symbols are a part of me and a part of my experience that when I'm conceiving an action movie, I go, it'd be dope. I always want to see is this. Right. And so, by the way, I just saw Darwin, is the number one pirate and these guys who have kept it alive. And let's be real, Pirates Week isn't what it used to be. I know there's talk to try and make Pirates Week great again. And I hope we can. And I saw I went last year and it looked like it was a vibe. It was coming to come, you know. Yeah. But listen, as you know, when we were kids, it was
a
floats and floats and floats. And it was street dance and it was this epic thing.
Epic is the right word. But we just didn't really know it at the time, right? And until it goes away, and then you're like, wow, that was epic times.
So yeah, I mean, really thank you. Thank you to all those who kept that going, and thank you to the people who hold up the culture. Miss Pedley at the archive, for putting up with us, me and my writing partner coming in there. And she's, you gotta be quiet, but she was cool about it. And she was just like, yo, you guys can't be like playing videos or trying to video
or
stuff,
snapping.
So, but by the way, she made it very approachable for us. And she said, no, listen, if you want to scan, just think. And again, they're not a lot of money. It's just doing it properly. And I respect that about her. And she was lovely and directing us too of you might want to look at this and look at that. And it was just, again, that part was amazing. And again, if anyone has the bandwidth, I highly recommend it. Go there and engage and read some of these letters and you find odd and interesting, sometimes cheeky and provocative things in there. Letters from lovers and,
Yeah. That's true. I've spent some time in there in the past, and it is pretty interesting what you can read. I remember reading this letter from this guy that was coming from the UK to Cayman, and he had never been to Cayman. I don't know why he's writing this letter to who. I don't know. But in the letter, he's like, before I came to the Cayman Islands, he's like on the boat,
Right.
He said that, they told me to watch out for those Caymanians, or something like that, right?
Right.
And then he's like, but there's actually a Caymanian on the boat. He seems like such a great guy. I'm like, there you go.
Right,
That's this is early 1900s or something like that. I'm like, wow, that same theme still kind of exists, right? Like, watch out for those Caymanians. When you meet them, he's actually a pretty nice guy.
Right. So. There's a great one too with the missionary. Have you read that one where the missionary is writing back about the obia and that thing? And, it's bananas.
What's that about? What's he saying about that?
What's interesting too is, when you start to dive into history too, you also realize just because it's old doesn't mean it's facts, right? Mm-hmm. Someone wrote something. Mm-hmm. Who wrote it? Why'd they write it? What was their agenda? Mm-hmm. What was their worldview? Right?
Literary criticism here.
No, I mean, I'm just saying. So you got to go. This guy's talking about he's talking about the obia and da da da, and then you realize he's a clergyman who's writing back to the main diocese.
Right.
And I go, he's asking for more resources. Mm-hmm. So again, we will never know. But I'm like, I'm sure there might have been some obia people, but is he gonna exaggerate the situation so that people go, oh man, this is an island full of savage, devil worshipping people. Right. Let's give the man all he needs to build a missionary and church thing. Right. I don't know. Right. And again, you have to cross-reference it with other things and things. So even that whole idea of, again, how we look at ourselves and our culture, and I say you find these very provocative things because they're history. They say history is written by the winners. History is written by the people who write it down.
That's an interesting
That's
point.
it. Right. So that's why I encourage people to make content, do your Instagram, do your thing. make things because that's all that we're going to have at some point. 50 years from now, it might not seem like much, but like, I remember Luigi used to do these things like with Kirk, like those things, like I still, again, I always saw the value, especially being away, because you miss home, you miss culture, and you see these things, you're like, yo, that's great. I'm glad that exists because that's a moment in time. And that ain't, again,
and it's documented, right?
It's documented.
It's written. And that's really is what it's about. Putting it down, like, there's the ideas that float in your head or whatever, but the things that remain are sort of articulated in time and space in one way or another, like your film,
Right. And by the way, history is 15 minutes ago.
Right.
Technically, right? It's just the past. So whether that's 150 years or 150 days, still history. So I don't know.
So I know you got to go. So I really appreciate you coming on. But what's up for the future? I mean, I know you there's a whole tour that you have going on with this, with the Bluff. Oh wait, by the way, I wanted to ask the Bluff. Is there a play on the word the Bluff? Because bluff can mean.
I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess you have to watch and find out. I will say there's a lot of, my wife and I, whenever we watch movies, the idea of like mystery is a big part for us.
Right.
She actually makes action movies for a living. So when we just see a straight up action movie, we're like, okay, it can be good, but it's like if it's just more of the same person killing a bunch of people, we're like, okay, But if there's a mystery to it, it's always interesting. So I will say that one thing with this movie was being thoughtful about, there are mystery, there are twists and turns in it. And so we really wanted to create something that is, again, keeps you guessing and you're like, oh, what is the, so there's all that. So it's fun. So I'm excited for people to explore that. But you asked what's next. For me, we have a press tour movie coming out February 25th. Excited for everyone to see it. We're working on a little faith-based movie. My wife and I actually, a small movie that we're going to shoot in New York, God willing. And so it's not the usual thing of like, oh, you make a big movie, you want to make a bigger one.
Right.
This was something that, I really felt called to do. Pastor Mike from here in Cayman had sent me the material, and big up Pastor Mike. And it really touched my soul. And I was like, well, let's do something, for the heart, again, God blessed me so much that I go, well, I want to, so we'll see. That's something we're working on. It's very personal. And then there's, looking for things and just trying to stay inspired. And, I do write as well. So sometimes I'll write things that I don't direct. So I'll write for other filmmakers and that, keeps me sharp and also allows me, like how we did with Marley and all those other films.
Right.
You can't, directing takes a lot out of you and it's years and years of your life. So nice to be able to write stuff and pass it on.
Right. I think that's interesting. You working on this faith-based film, as a filmmaker as well, you always sort of, you have ideas and grand dreams and you love to make epic projects, but then you just find a little piece that you love and you're like, what, I just need to do that for me kind of vibe. And it sounds kind of like what you were saying, like the Russo brothers were doing, right? They found this, I don't know if it was an Indian film or whatever it is that they did, right? That's sort of like maybe not your Hollywood type of film, but something that they attached to personally and wanted to do, So I can definitely relate to that and that vibe with this film that you're working on.
Yeah, man, and like I said, and I always look for that. Again, something you can make independently. You can hopefully you raise the money, you try and do it separate from the studio because that development process, as you see with the Bluff, takes many years. So if you can do things smaller, and then obviously I really want to shoot a movie in Cayman at some point, the whole thing. So hopefully we'll get to that at some point. I work on the film commission as well, so we're trying as best we can to put things in place that allow it to happen. So we just we pray those things come together, and I also enjoy the moments I get to like mentor other young Caymanian filmmakers, and that's always fun. People reach out and they send me their shorts, and it's a real privilege to see what they're doing because it really excites me to say, oh man, there's more people that are telling these stories. Like I said, that are capturing these pieces. And, and by the way, even if it doesn't take place here, there are people who are interpreting something through a Caymanian lens, right? So you could be making a horror film that takes place in whatever, right? Manitoba. But if you're a Caymanian filmmaker or writer or director, producer, you're going to interpret that through your experience. That's super fun too.
Right.
Yeah, man. So I want to see what you're doing, bro. You're gonna make some more.
Yeah,
stuff.
we're shooting a short in probably the end of the month. So same kind of vibes. Just want to work on a project and working here locally. And no, I just want to say congrats on finishing the Bluff. That was quite an epic. I can't wait to see it. And I know we worked on that back in 2024. So, all of 2025 went by, and, the film's finally coming out in 2026. So, that's, and then, that obviously didn't include the whole writing process that you went through, right? So like you said, that's years of your life, dedicated to a project that, stopped 2 or 3 times along the way. So congrats on finishing that. That's super cool. You're jumping from Netflix to Amazon, and I think we can, I can speak for all of Cayman to say, we're proud of you. And, I think I heard, Minister Rankin say, or Mr. Matu say, we were proud of you before, but then to see you actually, keep going and produce something at even a higher level than the stuff you had done before. Because Bob Marley was great, by the way.
Thank you.
Loved it. And I don't know who didn't love that movie. Well written, even from a written perspective. I mean, I could see, you guys just sort of, bounced, just moved so quickly through everything, but not in a sort of rapid pace, but, you had to encompass this whole guy's life, which must have had so many. I think I'm sure you had to make some executive decisions on what you kept and what you didn't. But based on what you kept there, it just seemed very snug and very well written. And so yeah, definitely inspired. And whenever you want to shoot this movie in Cayman, we're here, right? Thank you. We'll love to work with you on that. And thanks for including me on the Bluff. It was fun as heck,
Yeah, man.
Out there in the Brac, that was definitely really fun with the guys and the girls, and shooting on the Bluff with the drone and out there on the water.
Yeah, hanging off the side with the plate unit, and
in the caves as well. Did any of those shots make the film?
We a bit. She's looking up. There's a moment where he's looking up at the pyre. That's from the cave that we shot. The flare, did the flare make it? We had it in one cut. I don't think it was but we were shooting flares, which was great. By the way, the people of Cayman Brac, thank you guys. That was amazing. I know the commissioner and them, it was a whole thing to be able to shoot flares.
Yeah, it was.
And they were super cool about it. And they said, yeah, no, do it. And they were very, very open.
Accommodating.
Yeah, man. And I remember even from when I first went, all the location scouts, like the district commissioner, his whole team, they were really, really open and excited and helped us to, again, feel at home, and also to really get into all the nooks and crannies and the bush and the hidden caves and all the things that we wanted to bring to life. So that was really special. And all the stories, I mean, there were stories they told us that inspired scenes in the film, and the well, there's like a well under the house. And again, I don't want to spoil too much, but we visited a house and there was like a well that went into a cave system. So we're like, oh, that's cool. Like, the backyard could essentially have a well that goes into a cave system.
Right.
So there's a bunch of like really interesting like nuance that we're like, that'd be great for an action scene. Oh, that'd be great if that was her like escape pad, or how can she do this? So, there you can look for those little Easter eggs in the movie, but it was really good. And, Cayman Brac is such a special place. And I think a lot of people discovered it during COVID a lot more because and so when we were here during COVID, we really fell in love with Cayman Brac in a whole different way than we had even growing up, right?
Yeah, same with me. It wasn't until I think we shot something before the Bluff.
Oh yeah.
We spent some time in the Brac, and then we went and we did the Bluff. And it was after all of those moments where I'm like, wow, this is actually, because I used to have the idea, we're like, but I don't want to go Brac. What are we going to do Brac? I'm going to be bored in the Brac. You know what I mean? That kind of vibe. But then after those 2 shoots, it was like, wow, I really love the Brac.
Well, it's actually closer to the Cayman that we grew up in.
Right.
We grew up in Grand, as they call it.
Right.
So, it's in a weird way closer to like our childhood in Grand.
Yeah, that's true.
Than some parts of Grand are,
now.
Yeah. So it to go there is also kind of a little nostalgia.
Right. For sure.
So, but it's still the best place in the world, man. This, our 3 islands. So we're excited to tell more stories and keep the vibes,
Cool, man. So let people know one last time before we log off here.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, February 25th. Log on, check it out. Have a watch party. Go to a friend's house. Sit with the people, enjoy it, watch it more than once. I'd love to hear what everyone thinks. Throw it in the comments on this podcast, and I really hope people enjoy the movie as much as we enjoyed making it, and feel the love letter that we wrote to, Caymanian history, Caymanian culture, and the genre of a wicked, wicked pirate action film.
Love it. Thanks so much, bro.
Yeah,
Congrats.
Bless. Thank you, brother.